All right, let me tell you a story that'll make you question every community rule you've ever lived under and maybe laugh and maybe get a little angry too. Picture this. I get home from a 3-week work trip, midnight, bone-tired car still humming in the driveway. I walk up to my own front door, key in hand, thinking about crashing into bed. And the first thing I see through the window is a damn dinner party. In my living room. I'm talking linen napkins, wine glasses, cheese platters, the whole Martha Stewart starter pack. And at the head of the table, Cordelia Thorne, the HOA president, who's made it her life's mission to ruin mine, wearing my dead grandmother's silk bathrobe and drinking my best Cabernet. Swear to God, for a second I thought I'd walked into the wrong house, but nope, this was my place, my name on the deed, my grandma's old welcome sign still crooked above the door. Only now apparently it also belonged to Cordelia and her little HOA mafia. She saw me write keys in my hand, suitcase at my feet, and instead of acting embarrassed or explaining, she screams into her phone, 911, there's a burglar breaking in. Before I know it, red and blue lights are bouncing off the stonework. Cops, hand on their holsters, neighbors peeking out from behind their plantation shutters. Me standing in my own damn driveway explaining to a police officer why the owner of a $1.2 million house needs to prove he lives there. Let me tell you, it would have been a disaster, except Cordelia made one little mistake. She forgot about the cameras. See, I work in cybersecurity and paranoia is just part of the job. Every entrance, every room, every wine bottle covered. And all that footage. It showed exactly what she'd been up to while I was gone. But hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to know how I wound up in this suburban fever dream. Name's Braxley Whitmore, 47, and despite what you might think, not the kind of guy who's ever wanted to fight with the neighbors. I fix other people's digital messes for a living. 3 months ago, I inherited Grandma's old Tudor mansion in Millfield Heights, Colorado. Big stone place, hand-carved, everything view of the mountains that'll stop you mid-sentence. Supposed to be a dream, right? Except turns out in Millfield Heights, dreams have bylaws. See, this is where rich people come to die surrounded by perfect lawns and zero tolerance for anything remotely unseemly. Everyone's car is an SUV that's never seen a gravel road. The HOA was established back in '87, charges $340 a month, and acts like it's the FBI of flower beds. On paper, they're there to maintain standards. In reality, it's just a power trip for Cordelia. Now, Cordelia, man, where do I even start? She's 58, been HOA president for 6 years, real estate agent by day, failed villain by night. Lost her biggest client when the market tanked, and she's been taking it out on the rest of us ever since. She's the kind of woman who carries a clipboard like it's a weapon. Literally measures grass with a ruler and has opinions about the correct font for mailbox numbers. She lives in a basic ranch house, but every time she walks by my place, you can smell the jealousy. My grandma's house screams old money, and Cordelia, well, she can't stand it. First citation came 8 weeks after I moved in. Ready for this? She fined me $75 because my garden gnome was 2 inches taller than the approved limit. I didn't even know there was a garden gnome clause, but she had it memorized. Then came the doormat, excessive wear patterns, another $75. It's a doormat. What am I supposed to do? Wipe my feet on the air? The last straw, she claimed my porch light wasn't period appropriate for 1920s architecture. My grandmother picked that light herself in 1987, but Cordelia decided it clashed with the house's Tudor styling. Every morning at 7, I'd hear the crunch of leaves and know it was her, patrolling with Martha and Bob, her cronies, like they were some kind of HOA SWAT team. You could smell the bleach from her sanitized clipboard from 20 feet away. Not even kidding. They'd peer into my windows, whisper and point at every little imperfection, while the old guard families never got so much as a warning. Here's what really got to me. She only targeted new residents, single homeowners, anyone she thought wouldn't fight back. Couples with perfect lawns, untouchable. Folks like me, Citation City. By October, I was out $1,847 in fines, and every notice threatened a lien if I didn't pay within 30 days. It was all part of a plan, bleed me dry with fines, hope I'd sell maybe to one of her clients. But I wasn't alone. Mrs. Cecilia, my sweet old neighbor across the street, slipped me a note during one of Cordelia's patrols. Turns out she'd seen Cordelia in my backyard while I was out of town taking photos looking for more violations. She'd been building a case for months. But I got a call. A big client in Texas needed a month-long security audit. 45 grand. And let's be real, I needed the money to keep up with Cordelia's shenanigans. So I did what I do best. I set up security cameras everywhere. Every notice, every fine photographed and uploaded. Then I left hoping for the best. What I didn't expect, Cordelia took my absence as an invitation. The cameras would end up catching everything and would also save my ass. The job wrapped early, so I drove home through the night, hopped up on Truck Stop Coffee, and pulled into my driveway at 11:47 p.m. The porch lights were on a timer I'd never set. Cordelia's silver Lexus sat out front like she owned the place. Through my living room window, I saw movement, flickering lights, laughter, classical music pouring through the windows I'd left locked. My blood ran cold. I walked up, slow keys shaking in my hand. Through the kitchen window, I saw Cordelia wearing my grandmother's apron, arranging cheese and crackers like she was hosting the Oscars. Her friends, Martha, Bob, 2 other board members, lounged around sipping my wine, admiring family photos like they were browsing an estate sale. And then I heard her, "Poor Braxley asked me to house sit while he's gone. You know how worried he gets about break-ins these days." Such a sweet boy. She'd cooked up an entire backstory. She wasn't just squatting, she was the hero, the neighborly caretaker, while I was the paranoid fool who should have been grateful. Now, every part of me wanted to bust in and start throwing people out by their ears, but that's not how you win against someone like Cordelia. You document first, confront later. I remembered my grandma's secret coal chute. She'd shown it to me when I was 12, just in case I ever locked myself out. Now it became my secret passage. I crept up the stairs, phone recording, documenting every lie, every bottle opened, every guest. For 12 minutes I captured it all, her drinking my best wine, moving family photos, even rifling through my mail. Worst part, my grandmother's prescription medication was on the counter open. Cordelia hadn't just squatted, she'd violated every possible boundary. But she was careful, building a narrative. She was the helpful neighbor, and I was the unstable homeowner who needed community supervision. I snuck back out and drove to the 24-hour diner, uploading everything to cloud storage and reading Colorado property law until the sun came up. Turns out not only was Cordelia trespassing, but the second she overstayed her permission, even if she'd ever had it, she was breaking the law. That little house-sitting story was about to blow up in her face. So the next morning, I knocked on my own door, and there she was, my grandma's silk bathrobe, coffee in hand, acting like she'd lived there for years. "Oh, Braxley, you're back early." The sweetness in her voice made my skin crawl. She launched into this whole act, claimed she'd found issues during her final inspection, said I'd violated travel notification rules, even that my cameras were a privacy violation. She showed me photos, loose screws, clogged gutters, water damage she'd created herself. It was gaslighting 101. She wanted me to feel grateful for her help. I kept my cool, asked for everything in writing from my lawyer, and just for a second saw her mask slip. Panic. Then back to normal, but not quite. When she left, Mrs. Cecilia came by. She'd been documenting everything, said Cordelia was telling the neighbors I'd abandoned the house, that the HOA was intervening to help. She'd even been signing for my mail, claiming I'd authorized her as a temporary recipient, a federal crime, by the way. 3 families saw her hauling contractor bags out of my house. The whole house-sitting thing, total cover for calculated theft. Now here's the twist: Cordelia had done this before. Mrs. Cecilia handed me a manila envelope smelling like lavender filled with evidence. Turns out 2 years ago, Cordelia pulled the same stunt on the Hendersons, drove them out with fake citations and lies about property abandonment, and they ended up selling for way under market just to get away from her. Pattern recognition, my friends. It's not just for hackers. What Cordelia didn't count on was that this time the neighborhood was ready to fight back. Mrs. Cecilia introduced me to a handful of other families who'd quietly collected evidence for years. Bob, the retired accountant, who'd tracked the money, $35,000 in consulting fees, missing from HOA accounts. Dr. Patel denied a home office permit for no reason except he wasn't one of Cordelia's friends. Sarah, whose kids were fined for sidewalk chalk. Jennifer, who caught Cordelia threatening foreclosure over a vegetable garden. Every story was the same target: the vulnerable, protect her cronies. And here's where it gets good. I found the original HOA founding documents in my grandma's old safe. Turns out HOA authority expires after 40 years unless 75% of residents vote to renew. No vote, no authority. The HOA, as of 3 weeks prior, had been dead in the water. Every fine, every threat, every inspection totally illegal. So I got to work. Compiled every violation, every missing dollar, every neighbor's story, backed it all up 6 ways to Sunday Cloud, USB printed copies in sealed envelopes, contacted the news. Mrs. Cecilia gathered more neighbors. We had video documents, everything. The air in my house that night felt electric. For the first time in years, people were hopeful. Now, Cordelia, of course, didn't go quietly. She tried calling the cops again, sent out robocalls saying I was unstable and dangerous, filed paperwork accusing me of harassment. Even tried changing the meeting location last minute and locking residents out. But every move just created more evidence for the case against her. Then came the night of the emergency HOA meeting. We packed the school auditorium, 200 neighbors, 3 TV stations, cops, attorneys, everyone with a smartphone recording. I took the stage and laid it out. The HOA expired. Cordelia had no authority. Every fine was invalid. $23,000 missing from reserves, and then security footage, timestamp showing her living in my house, hosting parties, committing theft, and breaking in with a crowbar when she thought no one was watching. She tried to scream over me, but Dr. Patel handed the mic to Officer Rodriguez, who calmly listed the charges: mail theft, breaking and entering, fraud, conspiracy. Cordelia was arrested on the spot in front of the whole neighborhood. After that, things moved fast. We got a settlement over $300,000 split between affected families. The state pulled Cordelia's real estate license for good. The community set up a volunteer council, planted a garden, started a scholarship fund. Mrs. Cecilia became like family. Bob taught me to rebuild motorcycles. Dr. Patel's kids invite me for holidays. And every spring we throw a Freedom Festival, music, barbecue, sidewalk, chalk everywhere, not a citation in sight. But here's the kicker. The real lesson, the thing that snuck up on me when I was out watering my grandma's roses the other day. It's not just about rules or paperwork or even catching the bad guy. It's about what happens when a community remembers it has power, that you don't have to take bullying no matter how official it looks. Cordelia weaponized decency. She took something good, being a neighbor, and twisted it into control. But when we stopped trying to appease her, when we started documenting and standing together, it all fell apart. So yeah, Cordelia got her karma. Handcuffed, broke, exposed, banned from ever running another HOA. And we got our home back. Justice for once was more than just a word. But now I gotta ask, how many Cordelias are out there right now? Running little empires with a clipboard and a smile. Do you fight them, or do you just keep your head down and hope they pick on someone else? Ever had to stand up to a small-town tyrant, HOA or otherwise? Drop your war stories in the comments, because believe me, I'm all ears. And if you want to see justice served, again, hit that subscribe. Remember your property, your rules. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.